So this is a cloud storage facility, database warehouse, and this is what is used by all the all big companies with big databases. And again, it's called the cloud. You need to make sure you keep up to date with your data in your database, which means that you need to get rid of bounce backs, and you need to, from time to time, make sure you don't have any repeating records. So, you know, James Flannery and Jim Flannery, both at the same address. So there are a number of steps that need to be taken to continually update data so that you're not sending things to people who don't exist, and wasting money, or making people angry for sending them four of something like my local library does to me. Security is another important factor. Of course, with databases, we read more and more, it seems, about people's databases, company databases, government databases being hacked by bad actors, sometimes foreign governments, it would seem, sometimes just criminal groups. And so access to your database needs to be tightly controlled. You need to have record of anyone who tries to penetrate it. You need to alert your staff to phishing emails, which are fake emails that when you click them will download malware to your computer, which can enable a bad actor to eventually get into the company database. So security is a big issue for us to be aware of with databases. In terms of the physical form of databases, there are hierarchical databases like this, where all the information is in one huge database, and it's flat and big. It means also ultimately that storage space is wasted with this kind of architecture for the database, and computing time is lengthened because the data just aren't as easy to get at. A more modern type of database is called a relational database. This is an example of that, and this is where you have a number of smaller databases, each one very tight, not a lot of open fields, not a lot of open boxes if you think of an Excel chart, or a cell as you think of an Excel chart, not a lot of open cells this way. With a hierarchical, you end up with lots of open cells. With this, you don't. So these are smaller databases, but they're all joined together. So when you have a question for the database and you want some information, and you send your query, it goes through every one of these databases because they're joined. So relational databases are what we use for our marketing database. Normally, it's comprised of an operational database, which is for transactions. It's for orders and payments and shipping. And then you have a marketing database, which is your kind of analytical database. It's where you do your thinking about your customers. Now, the two are linked. The two are linked normally by a customer ID number. So you're tracking your transactions and handling all your transactions, and every so often you are uploading all that new data organized by customer, and it's being linked to the customer files by customer in your marketing database. So the link again is the unique customer ID number. Each customer has only one customer ID number. So this is, in terms of database, this is sort of the basic marketing database setup. Um, in the marketing database, you see up there appended data, so that's adding outside information. It could be U.S. Census data, it could be a lot of different things. But you go outside and you buy or you rent information about your customers from other companies that own the data. You may remember Axiom, ACXIOM, is a company I referred to that's big into, it's a huge player in terms of having lots of information about people. And what do you do when you get all this extra data? It's just helping you understand your customers better. It's helping you segment your database also into, your best customers, your worst customers, different sets of customers. And once you segment them by behavior, by psychographic and demographic data, you can design communications that will address each segment. So at the bottom here, there where you see promotions and responses going out, that's your communications, that's your email communications, tailored for each segment. Okay, so a key concept is lifetime value of the customer. Very important for direct marketing. So we don't just look, at one transaction and say, oh, well, I guess we did well with that promotion. Our goal is to attract new customers who will have a high lifetime value, meaning that we measure how much they spend at the company over a period of time. Normally it's 3 years. So it's not just the one transaction, it's do they repeat purchase? You think about a car customer. It's more than 3 years for a car customer, but if someone buys a car from you, they can come back in 4 years and buy another car, and then another 4 years, another car. That customer that you brought in, that you built a relationship with, has a very high lifetime value because cars are a big ticket item. And understanding the lifetime value of the customer also helps us decide how much we want to invest in customer acquisition. Most advertising spending is for customer acquisition. It's not for building loyalty. It's for bringing in new customers. With my current customers, I can email them. I don't have to spend to advertise to them. Lifetime value calculation is basically, if I were to rewrite this a little more simply, it's profit per customer per year times 3 years, with the future years, years 2 and 3, discounted by net present value. So the amounts, the revenue in years 2 and 3 is reduced because it's revenue I'm getting in the future. So to do a lifetime value, I need to just come up with right now what are these customers worth to me, and I'm going to discount future revenue streams to net present value. And when I put all that together, 3 years of net present value income equals the lifetime value. Segmentation. I want to talk more about segmentation. I talked about it 2 minutes ago when we spoke of the things that we do in the marketing database. We segment customers, right, and then we send communications for each segment. I want to talk more about the concept of segmentation. And one way I like to do that is normally we say in life that putting different things together can create more value than each individual thing on its own. Think about an orchestra, right, with all the instruments. Just think about a basic team of people. Putting effort together can create more than just everything on its own. Now, an example of dividing things up to create value is a beef cow. So segmenting the cow, grouping entities of the cow, meat on the cow into like groups actually creates value. So rather than just buying the whole cow for X amount per pound, if I take the time to segment the poor beast, and those of us who like steaks, I know this is a little hard to read. Um, there's parts of the cow that don't make as good a tasting meat, will be maybe ground up into hamburger, and there are other parts of the cow that are the best steaks that are, in a restaurant, $60 a pound, $70, $80 a pound. I'm thinking of a bone-in ribeye here. So cows get segmented up, and it produces value. And of course, everything in the cow but the moo gets used, right? I mean, the skin is leather. The ears can be dog treats. I mean, Lord only knows. So it's the opposite of the synergy that I mentioned. Synergy is when you put a bunch of disparate things together, it makes something. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Well, this is the other way around. The sum of the parts is greater than the whole. For beef cows and for marketing segmentation, and this is a better picture now of what I do with my database when I segment. Alike addressable segments, this creates value. Key slide, it is. Facebook, by the way, as of when I did this slide a year or two ago, had 52,000 addressable customer segments. Now, just because of all this information they have on us. The typical company, by the way, doesn't want to address more than 5, 7, 8 customer segments in its marketing plans. If it's because each customer segment ideally needs its own plan. It needs its own communication strategy. It needs someone to manage the success the company's having with the segment. I mean, you just can't do that with, dozens of segments in any company. You can't do outbound aggressive marketing to all those segments. Most important segment is the most valuable customer, the big fish. Most valuable customer is the one who spends the most and complains the least. And you'll recall that when we looked at the database chart again, the one with the transactional database, the operational database, and the marketing database, at the very top of the exhibit for the marketing database, it said appending data or appended data. This is where, again, we go outside to Axiom or Experian or the U.S. Census or Prism, and these folks can tell us more about our customer base, more demographic information, more psychographic information. But, ultimately, we want to know, what contributes to someone being a customer of ours. Is it their age? Is it their gender? Is it their like of sports? So typically there's the appended data. Typically what we do, there's the customer ID link, finally, is, and this is where we're getting now into data analytics and modeling a little. We're just going to get into a little bit in this class. I get into it more in my database marketing class, DM 321. So with multivariate analysis, what do I say about this here? Oh yeah, here we go. The best thing is just to give an example, I think. So buying running shoes is a dependent variable. Independent variables have an impact on dependent variables. So different traits people may have in my database, demographics, age, gender, whether they work out or not, are independent variables. So a multivariate analysis, a many-variate analysis, is something I can do in my database which will tell me how much